Hey guys, welcome back. So our next project are going to be the towel bars in our bathroom. So one of the things we're going to do is we're going to remove these. As you can see, the way these are fixed, when I remove this, there's actually going to be a big gap, big hole that's left over because these are sunken into the drywall. So once these are removed, I'm going to patch the wall and add texture. And that's really what the big portion of this video is about, is how the best way to patch a wall is, especially with this size. And I'll be using a texture that I'll be adding that we picked up that seems to work really well. So I'll show that to you guys as well. And then the end conclusion is we're going to be hanging new towel bars and some hooks up on this wall. So I'll take you along. I'll show you how I do it and the best way to patch up a wall. So there's a pipe in here, so we're going to take that into consideration when we do anything. I'm going to use the stud finder to make sure I know where all of these are, and the electrical and any other pipes. But since we know this is here, we're going to go ahead and make a mark where this is, so we know in the future, when even after we patch this up, we know that there's something right here. Now there is a lot of peeling of this. I want a nice clean cut to work with here. So what I'm going to end up doing is making this hole a little bit bigger, maybe about to 4 inches. So we'll have a 4-inch by maybe 5.5 or 6-inch. So 4-inch by 6-inch piece here. So 7.5 inches by 6 inches for this one. For cutting a hole out, there's a couple different ways of doing it. You can use an X-Acto knife and just cut it and do multiple cuts onto it until you get it to pop out. You do have to be mindful for over penetration. Make sure you got nothing behind it. You have your drywall saw, but this one is a little bit more difficult, especially when you're dealing with a stud. You're not going to be able to get in there. So for the stud, you will have to end up using an X-Acto knife or a razor blade. But what I'm going to be using is a oscillating saw. This is going to go in. You just have to be mindful about your penetration, how far you go, and you just trace it and cut it. And it goes a lot faster than using either one of those. One of the methods for installing the drywall is to put a piece of wood behind it. I'm using plywood here to show you how it's not going to work. Plywood ends up being a little too hard and hard to drill into. So when you start to affix your drywall to the plywood, what you'll end up having to do is add a little bit more pressure and end up either stripping or ripping your screws through the drywall. The better option is using pine, and I'll show you that on the next hole. Now in this section, because we have so much problems here, we're going to create a bigger piece. So it's going to be the same 6 inches, but we're going to extend it out just a little bit. We do have a stud here, so the start of the stud's here. So we may extend it just a little bit to incorporate the stud so we can secure directly into the stud here, as well as creating a piece here which we can fix the drywall to. Now you can see the wiring that's going through this hole. We don't want to have to do or move any of the electrical. So what we're going to end up doing is kind of sandwiching the electrical with 2 pieces of 2x4. To speed up the process and make it a little bit easier, we're going to put in our screws to the wall first.
Now, because we already cut the drywall out and used that as our template to make our hole, we know it's going to fit. So we're going to do a quick dry fit. It fits perfectly. Now we're going to add joint compound to the inside of the hole and then along the edges of the drywall itself. Now it's all set, we're going to start adding our joint compound, but don't forget to actually screw the drywall in. Once you have joint compound in all the crevices, we're going to add our seam tape and then start pressing that in. Now that the tape is up, we're going to start adding more joint compound to make sure the tape is fully covered and to even out the wall. To do this, we're going to do a feathering technique where you're going to add more pressure to the outside and lighten up towards the center and then add more pressure at the end. This will taper off all the joint compound in the corners and on the sides. So for the second method, you're not going to need any seam tape. You're going to be using the paper that's attached to the drywall. So the first thing you're going to need to do is cut out a piece of drywall that's about 1 to 2 inches bigger than the hole that you've got. Now you've got your drywall, you're going to put it up to the hole and use the inside of the hole as a template to score the drywall. Now to separate the drywall from the paper, it's simple as breaking it off the side and peeling it off. Now that's all set, we're going to take and use our joint compound spray on the outside of the hole, the inside of the hole, as well as the edges of our piece of drywall we're going to be inserting. Now we're going to insert our drywall and start pressing the paper in. And then we're going to start pushing from the center of the drywall out, pushing out the joint compound from underneath the paper and layering that on top. This will help seat everything against the wall with a nice thin layer. You do have to move quickly because as the paper gets wet, it tears very easily.
Alright, so next day we're going to be doing our next coat and doing some feathering. Kind of even everything out. We'll wait 24 hours for all this to dry, and then we'll start the sanding process.
For sanding, we're using an orbital sander with 220 grit sandpaper. We're going to even this out, make sure the edges are tapered, and make sure everything is level. Now we're going to be adding our texture. We're using Homax orange peel wall texture. There are 3 different settings, but the one that matches what we've got already on the wall the best is the fine. We're going to set this up on fine and step back about 2 to 3 feet and spray with broad strokes over the area. It does have an indicator on it, so it goes from blue to white as it dries. After about half hour to 45 minutes, it's all dry and it's ready for paint. Now it's time to install the first towel bar, and we picked the Delta Portwood 24-inch towel bar. The average install for a towel bar is roughly 48 inches or 36 if you have children, but we wanted it to be a little bit higher, so we're going to go with 56. We have the wall marked, and this system comes with a template, so we're going to put the template up on the wall. Then pre-drill all of the holes where the brackets are going to go. Install the anchors. Then attach the brackets to the wall. Check one more time to make sure everything is level. Then install the towel bar. Now for installing the hooks, the suggested height is approximately 70 inches. The installation of the hooks is very similar to the towel bar. Alright guys, so that's it. Both methods worked out perfectly and they're seamless. You can't even tell that the holes were ever there. Now in the description I'll leave a link to the texture and also the towel bar and hook. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching and we'll see you soon.